In May 1945, as the Third Reich collapsed into rubble, dozens of German submarines vanished into the gray, unforgiving expanses of the Atlantic Ocean. Decades later, naval historians confidently assumed every significant wreck from this chaotic diaspora had been mapped, cataloged, and archived in official military records. They were wrong. Deep beneath the shifting sands and treacherous currents of the Danish straits, a ghost ship was silently defying 80 years of advanced oceanographic sonar, carrying secrets that fundamentally rewrite the final, darkest chapter of World War II. The discovery of U-3523 did not happen in a remote, inaccessible ocean trench, but in the Skagerrak, a highly trafficked, heavily surveyed strait separating Denmark from Norway that serves as one of the primary maritime arteries of Northern Europe. Researchers from the Sea War Museum Jutland, utilizing advanced high-resolution multi-beam sonar systems, scanned a seafloor long thought to be thoroughly charted and entirely understood. What appeared on their monitors was not a collapsed heap of rusted iron, a scattered debris field, or a shattered hull, but a massive Type 21 U-boat, frozen in a state of impossible, eerie preservation. This was Hitler's ultimate underwater weapon, a vessel capable of staying submerged for weeks at a time and engineered specifically to alter the course of the global naval war. Its physical location and bizarre orientation instantly shattered the official British Admiralty reports from 1945, which claimed the submarine had been completely destroyed miles away by a British B-24 Liberator bomber. The official history was deeply flawed, leaving an uncomfortable, gaping void between wartime military paperwork and the physical reality resting on the cold ocean floor. The physical evidence uncovered on the seabed told a radically different story than the triumphant victory logs of Allied pilots. The sonar imagery revealed the 250-foot hull buried at a steep, unnatural angle that defied standard sinking patterns. The entire bow section was driven deep into the thick, suffocating clay seabed, leaving the stern pointing nearly 100 feet up into the water column, suspended vertically in the dark, freezing current. It resembled a giant steel needle dropped from the heavens, balancing precariously in the ocean twilight. This unusual posture suggested a sudden, catastrophic plunge, rather than a slow settling after a surface attack. The sheer momentum required to bury a 1,000-ton steel vessel that deeply into the seafloor pointed to an intentional, desperate dive, or a sudden, catastrophic failure while running at maximum submerged speed. As researchers began analyzing the structural integrity of the hull from these initial scans, the first major anomalies emerged, suggesting this was no ordinary wartime casualty of a routine patrol. The Type 21 was not a standard submarine. It was the world's first true U-boat, featuring a revolutionary rubber-coated hull designed to absorb Allied sonar waves and stealthily bypass complex radar networks. Measurements of the wreck confirmed that despite 8 decades of exposure to strong Scandinavian currents, the hull remained largely intact, shielded by the low-oxygen environment of the deep mud. Yet, the precise depth of 93 meters placed it just beyond the reach of standard commercial divers, safely locking its interior away in total darkness and crushing pressure. The survey team quickly realized that the sub's position directly contradicted the logbooks of the Allied anti-submarine squadrons. If U-3523 wasn't sunk where the British claimed, it meant an elite German crew had successfully breached the tightest naval blockade in history, navigating through treacherous waters while the rest of the world celebrated peace. They had bypassed the mines, escaped the radar nets, and broken out into open waters. The question was no longer just how it sank, but where it was going, and who was pulling the strings from the shadows of a collapsing empire. The answer to that question took a chilling turn when analysts matched the sinking timeline with the chaotic passenger manifests of fleeing Nazi officials during the war's final days. On May 5, 1945, the very day British forces arrived in northern Germany, all U-boats were ordered to surrender unconditionally. U-3523 deliberately ignored that command, slipped out of its pen under the cover of smoke and chaos, and vanished into the North Sea. When the team cross-referenced the submarine's maximum fuel capacity and its radical design, they realized something terrifying. This vessel possessed the exact cruising range required to reach South America without a single surface stop. A shocking detail surfaced when naval architects noted the total absence of standard defensive maneuvers around the final resting site. The sub hadn't been hunting Allied supply lines. It was running, completely stripped of its heavy torpedo stores to accommodate an unknown, highly classified cargo that required maximum storage space. The internal space of a Type 21 was meticulously calculated, meaning every inch of removed weaponry granted massive storage potential for high-value weight. This realization split the historical community into fiercely competing camps, each attempting to decipher the final mission of this ghost ship. Mainstream naval historians argue that the U-boat was simply part of a desperate, uncoordinated evacuation attempt toward Norway, caught and blindsided by an Allied patrol that simply misreported the coordinates in the frantic chaos of the war's final hours. A more unsettling theory proposes that U-3523 was the flagship of a highly organized clandestine smuggling operation known as the Rat Lines, designed to transport high-ranking party members, stolen gold bullion, and classified nuclear blueprints to safe havens in South America. The most uncomfortable possibility, however, is that the submarine's escape was actively ignored by certain Allied intelligence factions, a deliberate blind spot permitted in exchange for the cutting-edge technology housed within the vessel's hull, a deal that went catastrophic when the sub unexpectedly foundered before reaching its secret rendezvous point. As the pressure mounted to investigate the interior of the vessel using remote-operated vehicles, a wall of systemic resistance went up from international authorities. Naval organizations and government agencies, citing the site as an official war grave, locked down the permits required for intrusive exploration or core drilling into the hull. Funding for a full recovery or internal camera insertion mysteriously evaporated overnight, and public updates from the museum slowed to a crawl. Bureaucratic delays and sudden classification restrictions left the ultimate contents of the hull tantalizingly out of reach, fueling deep suspicions that the truth inside the buried bow involves names, assets, and diplomatic secrets that are still too sensitive for the modern world to confront. If the ship was merely a standard casualty of war, the intense geopolitical gatekeeping surrounding its hull made very little sense, suggesting the cargo inside remains a volatile political liability even today. The tactical reality of the Type 21 adds another layer of dread to the mystery. These vessels were equipped with advanced air purification systems and massive battery arrays that allowed crews to remain underwater for days, completely independent of the Earth's atmosphere. They represented a paradigm shift in naval warfare, rendering previous tracking methods completely obsolete. For an Allied bomber to successfully locate and sink such a vessel in the deep waters of the Skagerrak would require an astronomical amount of luck or precise intelligence regarding its exact escape route. The vertical position of the wreck indicates that whatever struck the submarine, or whatever system failed inside it, happened with such terrifying speed that the crew had no time to blow the ballast tanks or attempt an emergency surface. They went down with their secrets, entombed in a steel pressure hull that was built to withstand the crushing weight of the deep ocean, creating an underwater vault that has resisted entry for generations. This brings researchers back to the structural anomalies of the hull itself, which have been analyzed using advanced 3D scanning technology. Close-range sonar scans of the exposed stern section show no signs of catastrophic hull breaches from torpedoes or heavy depth charges. The outer skin of the submarine is remarkably unblemished, ruling out a chaotic surface battle or a standard anti-submarine engagement. This leaves two harrowing possibilities. Either the submarine suffered a fatal internal explosion, possibly triggered by a desperate crew, or the crew deliberately drove the vessel into the seabed to prevent its cargo from falling into enemy hands. If it was a suicide dive, it represents one of the most extreme acts of ideological fanaticism in military history. If it was an accident, it means the ultimate prize of the Nazi regime's technological machine was lost to the dark current just miles before achieving total freedom. The depth and position of the vessel mean that any future exploration will require international cooperation and immense technical funding, things that remain blocked by an invisible barrier of red tape. Every year the ship spends in the deep mud, the salt water slowly degrades the structural integrity, threatening to collapse the internal bulkheads and bury the truth forever. This raises the stakes for historians who believe that leaving the wreck unexamined is an active choice to protect a fabricated narrative of how the war ended. The silence from official naval archives regarding the structural state of U-3523 speaks volumes, hinting at a shared consensus among global powers that some maritime mysteries are better left undisturbed in the dark. The silent sentinel of the Skagerrak stands as a stark reminder that the oceans do not easily surrender their dead, nor their truths. If a pinnacle of wartime engineering can remain hidden in plain sight along one of Europe's busiest, most heavily scrutinized shipping lanes for 8 decades, it forces us to question how much of our documented past is built on convenient assumptions rather than physical reality. The dark, buried hull of U-3523 remains sealed, keeping the secrets of its final desperate voyage intact beneath the cold northern tide. We are left to wonder how many other ghosts are still navigating the dark currents of our history, waiting for the light to catch them, and whether we are truly prepared for what we might find when they finally surface.